disband until you surrender that tax collector.
Colonel Neville is not here.
Then evacuate the property, lay down your arms, or suffer the consequences.
Sir, the local militia attacked the home of the tax collector last night in western Pennsylvania. They destroyed everything on his farm. Several people were killed, including soldiers from Fort Fayette who were defending the property.
I have endured protests and non-compliance from the citizens of western Pennsylvania for 3 years. And I fear it will not end with this.
What in the state of things is proper to be done?
In the summer of 1794, President Washington faces one of the first tests of federal authority. 3 years earlier, Congress passed a tax on whiskey in order to generate much-needed revenue for the new federal government. The tax threatens the livelihood of small-scale farmers in western Pennsylvania, who distill their grain into whiskey in order to prevent their crops from spoiling during the long journey to eastern markets. By the summer of 1794, tensions reach a boiling point when several U.S. Army soldiers are killed defending the home of the regional tax collector.
As the designer of this tax, which is vital to servicing our national debt, the immediate question is whether the government of the United States shall ever raise revenue by an internal tax. The opposition has continued and matured till it has at length broke out in acts which are presumed to amount to treason. The army should be called forth and employed to suppress the insurrection. Whenever the government appears in arms, it ought to appear like a Hercules and inspire respect by the display of strength.
Military force should only be a last resort. Experience encourages us to persevere in a lenient course. If a riot is committed, the rioters can be prosecuted. State officials are capable of prosecuting these violators.
The whiskey tax is the creation of sycophants and aristocrats who use the government to raise taxes to pay for their financial schemes. Rich men corrupt the government while poor men starve. Our hard work pays for their luxury. The whiskey tax is unfair on our labor. It is unjust in principle, oppressive in its operation, and impractical in execution.
We may have the right to send the army, but doing so could make the situation worse. The backcountry of Pennsylvania is a long way to take an army of militia, and there are tens of thousands of armed men in the mountains who have promised to resist.
Sir, Secretary Hamilton has sent you a letter regarding this situation in Pittsburgh.
Go on, Mr. Lear.
A body of 4,500 armed men has assembled in western Pennsylvania, about 9 miles from Fort Fayette, with the design of attacking the fort.
Death to traitors! Send the local tax collectors to the guillotines!
Prepare the letters, await your orders to return.
We must quiet the rebellion before it rips apart the Union. Notify the frontiersmen that we are sending a commission to mediate a peaceful resolution. In the meantime, all persons are to disperse and retire peaceably to their respective abodes.
A three-man commission is en route to western Pennsylvania to negotiate with the rioters.
It is the very creators of this tax who have secretly stoked the fires of rebellion to advance their own power-hungry agenda for increasing the oversight of the federal government. These riots could have been avoided. This whiskey tax is unpopular in many parts of the Union, and you should not attempt to enforce it by rigorous means.
Sir, this letter from Attorney General Bradford just arrived from Pittsburgh.
What news of the commission?
The people cannot be induced to relinquish their opposition to the taxes.
The rioters in western Pennsylvania will not compromise.
The excise law is a branch of the funding system, detested and abhorred by all small farmers. Should an attempt be made to suppress these people? I'm afraid the question will not be whether you will march to Pittsburgh, but whether they will march to the nation's capital in Philadelphia.
The results are in. The group is deadlocked. The votes are evenly split. Now let's find out what President Washington decided to do.
In obedience to the duty consigned to me by the Constitution to take care that the laws are faithfully executed, I do hereby declare and make known that I have summoned the militias from the states of New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Maryland, and Virginia. They are already in motion to the scene of the rebellion. If the laws are to be so trampled upon with impunity,
there is an end put at one stroke to Republican government, and nothing but anarchy and confusion is to be expected thereafter. I warn all citizens who aid or abet the insurgents that they do so at their own peril.
President Washington chose to use military force. He personally escorted the army to Bedford, Pennsylvania. His decision reaffirmed the constitutional power of our new federal government to raise revenue through taxes, even if they proved unpopular in some regions of the country. The show of force was enough to quell the rebellion. President Washington's bold leadership ensured the rule of law and demonstrated that our democratic republic could withstand a domestic insurrection without trampling on the rights of citizens or descending into chaos.